What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so this is a question I got from one of my subscribers, and they wanted me to give my opinion. I guess I'll ask you guys in the comment section. Although I got a feeling this is going to be a landslide for a particular player. Which one of these guys was better, Reggie Miller or Dwyane Wade? All right, now both of them are Hall of Famers. Reggie Miller was not a first ballot Hall of Famer. I believe he got in on his second try. Dwyane Wade, I believe, was a first ballot Hall of Famer. Now, both great players, but who do you rank higher? Well, I have Wade somewhere top 25-ish, somewhere in that range. I used to have him top 20, but I put him down just a little bit. But about top 25-ish, maybe. Reggie, to me, is borderline top 50. At one point, he was top 50 easily in the 40s, but now I kind of have him a little bit like on the border of my top 50, but he's definitely top 75. Probably top 60, but he's fallen a bit. As a matter of fact, you can make an argument that he's not the greatest pacer of all time. Now, he might be the greatest NBA pacer, but the greatest pacer is probably Roger Brown. All right. Hell, you can make an argument that Mel Daniels was greater as far as overall impact as a ABA pacer, but he didn't have the longevity, obviously, of Reggie Miller. But you can bring up George McGinnis, honestly. Those three, actually. But anyway, let's look at resume. Reggie Miller. Matter of fact, let's look at Reggie Miller and then pull up Dwyane Wade. Now, of course, Dwyane Wade is a 3-time NBA champion. Reggie Miller, unfortunately, never did win a championship. But then you can also make an argument that Reggie Miller never got to play with the all-time greats that Dwyane Wade got to play with. You know what I'm saying? Wade played with Shaquille O'Neal. Wade played with Gary Payton, even though Payton was toward the end of his career. He played with Antoine Walker. He played with Jason Williams, the point guard. He played with... later on, of course, he played with LeBron James. He played with Chris Bosh. He played with Ray Allen. And those are guys he played with in his prime. Later on, he played with Rondo. So this is a guy that played with some all-time greats. Reggie Miller, I think the only Hall of Famer he played with was an aging Chris Mullin. Now, I might be forgetting somebody off the top of my head. But yeah, Reggie didn't play with the type of talent that Dwyane Wade did. But then again, look, that's not Dwyane Wade's fault, So, of course, Wade was a NBA Finals MVP in 2006. Wade was a 13-time All-Star. Reggie, I think, was a 4-time All-Star, right? 5-time All-Star. Wade was All-Star Game MVP in 2010. Reggie Miller never won All-Star Game MVP. Wade was 2 times All-NBA First Team. Reggie was never All-NBA First Team. Wade was 3 times All-NBA Second Team. Reggie was never All-NBA Second Team. Dwyane Wade was 3 times All NBA third team. Reggie Miller was also 3 times All NBA third team. So the best Reggie ever did was third team. Now you could also make an argument there was a glut of shooting guards, but man, look, Michael Jordan was not in the picture in '94, and pretty much '95 wouldn't have qualified for '95. So, you know, that's a knock on Reggie. Reggie is on the 75th anniversary team, as is Dwyane Wade. Reggie is a member of the 50, 40, 90 club. Wade is not. And Reggie won the J. Walter Kennedy Citizenship Award in 2004. Reggie was also considered USA Basketball Male Athlete of the Year in 2002. And Reggie was all FIBA World Cup first team in 1994. And his number 31 was retired by the Indiana Pacers. As far as the rest of Wade's... Oh, and also, Reggie won Olympic gold in Atlanta in 1996 for men's basketball and won gold at the FIBA World Championship. So I couldn't forget to mention that. For the rest of Wade's career, as far as his resume is concerned, Wade was 3 times NBA All-Defensive Second Team, scoring champion 2008-2009, NBA All-Rookie First Team 2004, number 3 retired by the Miami Heat, and Wade won the bronze in Athens in 2004, the gold in Beijing in 2008, and the bronze in 2006 in the World Cup. So overall, Wade is the more decorative and accomplished player as far as awards. Now, player breakdown, let's look at it. I mean, I'm not looking at stats, I'm just going by what I remember. Wade was by far the better defender. All right? Wade is one of the great shot blocking guards the game has ever seen. Reggie might be one of the worst shot blocking guards the game has ever seen, especially considering the fact that he was 6'7". Reggie's not the worst defender I've ever seen, but I would say at best Reggie was an average defender. He gave effort, but he was about average at best. Not a liability, but he wasn't great. So advantage goes to Wade on that one by a considerable margin. Scoring, Wade could give it to you in a versatile amount of ways. I mean, he wasn't a great three-point shooter, but Wade developed a nice mid-range jump shot out to about, what would I say, 18, 19 feet maybe. Great mid-range shooter. Early on, Wade was very explosive, man. Great dunker, slasher, penetrator. Got to the foul line with great regularity. Athletic, quick first step. Superior ball handler compared to Reggie Miller. Finisher. He's superior to Reggie in all of that. Earlier on in Reggie's career, he might occasionally, if the lanes was open, drive for like one of those two-handed dunks. You know, Reggie was not a great athlete per se, but shit, after 1996, I don't know, I could probably count my hand the amount of times I saw Reggie Miller dunk. You know what I'm saying? So as a scorer, Wade is in another league than Reggie as a versatile scorer. As a shooter, when you talk about shooting now, this is Reggie Miller's forte. I've never seen a guy ever, who needed so little room and such a small window to get off a quality shot. While I do believe Curry's the greatest shooter ever, the numbers back that up, but I still believe that Reggie Miller is the greatest clutch performer as far as 3-point shooting I've ever seen. He's the greatest. I don't know what the numbers are, but if there was a stat tracker of four-quarter 3-point shooting in playoff games for Reggie Miller, it has to be well over 40%. It has to be, or close to 40%, or over 40%. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Reggie was a superior free throw shooter, 88 to 89%. I think Wade was around the mid-70s. Wade, although he was a great mid-range shooter in his own right, Reggie was the greater and more consistent mid-range to outside shooter. But Reggie blows Wade away from at the 3-point line, at the foul line. Reggie was I mean, look, you could argue the role on the team has something to do with it, but Reggie was not a gifted passer. I think he was a better passer than the numbers indicate, but, Wade was a better passer. Then again, you know what I'm saying, you got to remember that it was different eras, different styles of basketball, and the pace was slower. So numbers would be a little bit lower. But still, Wade was the superior facilitator, ball handler, rebounder, the whole shebang. He's a superior rebounder. Reggie was a poor rebounder. And that's something I remember about him. He was not a good rebounder at all. Matter of fact, the only guy that's, I think, a little bit worse than him would be, historically, be a guy like Klay Thompson. Klay is not a good rebounder. But that's not a knock on him. He's still a Hall of Famer. But Reggie, I remember being a poor rebounder, averaging maybe like 3 rebounds, 3 assists. Those are not his strong suits. Reggie was there. He was their clutch guy. He was their clutch performer. And aside from just the shooting aspect of his game, Reggie had other roles with that team. And that was, I wouldn't say Reggie was an enforcer. He didn't have the physical might or stamina to be what you would call a physical enforcer. Those are Davis boys. Reggie was their spiritual enforcer. Reggie was their energy guy in a lot of ways. Reggie had balls of titanium steel. You know what I'm saying? Like, Reggie's personality was not, like, Wade was a lot more low-key personality-wise. Wade, I would say, was a leader, but Reggie was an unquestioned leader of those Pacers teams. After Chuck Person left, he was the unquestioned leader of those Pacer teams. And in my opinion, when you look at the success of those Pacers teams, and it sneaks up on you when you look back at it. You don't really notice it at the time, but Reggie Miller went to the conference finals 6 times in his career. 6 times. Even though he never won a championship, he went to the conference finals 6 times. Each time, with the exception of once. The reason why his team lost is because they were just overmatched. Talent for talent, they were just overmatched. But Reggie, almost single-handedly at times, because when you look at it, he didn't have another consistent guy with him, you know what I'm saying? Wade had Shaq, and then later on he had LeBron. Reggie never really had that. So when you look at what Reggie lacked and what they were able to still accomplish with the Pacers, and that's being contenders for over a decade, you know what I'm saying, that elevates Reggie Miller. And then, the fact that he he elevated his game when the stakes were higher. When he was going up against the best teams, Reggie focused and got better and was even more inflicting. You know what I'm saying? Like, Reggie could go up against, the Kings. They weren't really good back in the 90s. And, Reggie might have a game where he only has 9 points. You're like, man, what's so special about this guy? I don't see it. I don't see it. But then he goes up against a marquee team like the Knicks or the Magic. And then, the first 3 quarters, you're still saying to yourself, why is everybody talking about this dude? Only has 13 points. And then in the fourth quarter, you see what everybody's talking about. Wade was the same way in a lot of ways, but Reggie was just more competitive, more of a killer. Reggie had more of that killer mentality. And if he only had more physical gifts, more athleticism, then you really would see what Reggie Miller was all about. So that's why, even though I think Wade is a superior player that's not close, my affinity goes to Reggie Miller. Because Reggie's another guy that got the most out of his talent. Remember, the Pacers booed him on draft night in '87. They booed him in favor of Steve Alford. Now, ask any Pacers fan now who they rather would have had, Steve Alford or Reggie Miller.